Right now there is a clock in the room with you, maybe on the wall, maybe on the stove, maybe on your wrist. Today I'm going to teach you exactly how a self-taught inventor, expelled from kindergarten at the age of 4, taught thousands of readers to make that second hand stop. Not metaphorically. You will look at it, look away, look back, and for a measurable fraction of a second, the hand will stick, hold, refuse to move. Then it will start again. And when it does, you will know something about yourself that your body has been trying to tell you since you were born, and too frightened to admit that you are not actually in this room. You come here, you borrow the body, but you live somewhere else. The inventor was named Itzhak Bentov. He died in 1979. 2 years earlier, in 1977, he had published Stalking the Wild Pendulum on the mechanics of consciousness, and in it, he laid out the cleanest map I have ever seen for the thing your nervous system has been quietly doing behind your back every night of your life. In the next minutes, you will learn 5 things. Why your body is a Morse code and not a solid object. Who the part of you that daydreams actually is. How to prove it can leave with a wristwatch, where it goes when it does, and what happens to your body when it starts leaving regularly. Leaving your body without dying is a skill. It has preconditions, it has stages, it has failure modes, and Bentov was the first person to write all of them down in a language that did not require a monastery. Ready? Let's do it.
This is an artificially aware original production.
Here's the thing they do not tell you in physics class. Every atom in your body is vibrating. That part you know. The part you do not know is the speed faster than any process your senses are built to register. Each atom, in each cell, in each of you. And between each vibration, there is a gap, a rest. A moment when the atom is not moving in either direction, and by the logic of quantum mechanics, briefly does not exist where you left it. You are not a solid object. You are a strobe light. Bentov's entire model starts here. Everything that follows, the observer, the watch trick, the kundalini, the universal mind, is a consequence of that one fact. Your body is flickering. There are gaps. Something lives in the gaps. That something is what Bentov calls the observer. It is the part of you that notices you are reading this. It is the part that leaves during daydreams and comes back with nothing but a vague feeling of having been somewhere. It is the part that sometimes knows the phone is about to ring. Most people spend their whole life without ever meeting it. This video is about how to meet it, on purpose, with a wristwatch. We need to start with the body. Bentov tells a story about oysters. A biologist named Frank Brown shipped a batch of live oysters from the coast of Long Island to a laboratory in Chicago. He put them in pans of seawater in total darkness in the basement of a university 1,000 miles from any ocean. The oysters kept opening and closing on Long Island's tidal schedule. No light, no tides, no salt spray. Their bodies were still listening to the moon. Then, after 2 weeks, something strange. The oysters shifted. They began opening and closing on the schedule the tides would have followed in Chicago, if Chicago had tides, which it does not. But the gravitational pull of the moon over Chicago is different from the pull over Long Island, and the oyster bodies in a dark basement 1,000 miles inland could feel the difference. Bentov's point is simple. Every biological system in existence is listening to every other biological system. Your heart is picking up signals from stars. Your cells are compressed and rarefied by gravity waves you cannot detect. You are not separate from the universe. You are an antenna inside it. And you are not a continuous antenna. You are a pulsing one. Each atom in your body vibrates roughly 10 to the 15th power times per second, a quadrillion times. Each of them, all at once. At the top of each vibration, a full extension, the atom is moving fast, at the bottom also fast. But at the turnaround point, the moment the motion reverses, the atom is, by definition, at zero velocity, a moment of total rest. Here's Bentov's insight. By the rules of quantum mechanics, an object at perfectly zero velocity has a perfectly undefined position, which means for a fraction of a moment, it is not where it was. It has disappeared. And for the oscillation to continue, it has to return from nowhere back to somewhere. And since no time has passed, the velocity of that return is near infinite. Total rest and infinite speed in Bentov's model are the same state. Every atom in you. A quadrillion times a second. You just disappeared. 1,000 times in the time it took me to say that sentence. This is what the body actually is. Not a thing. A standing wave. A beat. A stutter of action and rest that holds together long enough for a human to wake up, drink coffee, and go to a meeting. You do not have a body, you have a rhythm. Something rides the rhythm. That is the observer, and we need to meet it. You are in a meeting, someone is talking. You hear the voice, you see the slides, your face is arranged correctly. Then someone says your name, and you flinch, because for the last 90 seconds, nobody has been home. The body was there, the eyes were open, the neurons were firing. But you, the thing that knows it is you, was somewhere else. You were replaying a conversation from yesterday. You were planning dinner. You were back in a kitchen from 14 years ago for reasons you cannot explain. Bentov has a precise word for what just happened. The observer left. He argues there are two consciousnesses living in your body. The first one is rudimentary. It keeps your lungs moving. It digests your food. It beats your heart in perfect time whether you are paying attention or not. It can run the entire machine without you for hours. The second one is the observer, the thing that notices, the thing that knows anything is happening at all. It does not have to be in the room to run the body, and most of the time, it is not. Every time you drove home and cannot remember the drive, every time a page went by and you absorbed none of it, every time someone waved and you did not see them, the observer was out, gone, not suppressed, not distracted, gone. The body covered. Bentov puts it plainly. The body is a garage. The observer is what parks in it. The garage does not become the car, and the car does not become the garage. They are two different things, and one of them is not always home. For most of human history, we called the observer the soul. If you are uncomfortable with that word, use a different one. The mechanism does not care what you name it. What matters is that it has two properties you have probably never stopped to consider. One, it can leave without the body dying. Two, when it leaves, it can go places the body absolutely cannot reach. Which brings us at last to the wristwatch. This is the experiment Bentov asks you to run. You need a clock with a visible second hand, wristwatch, kitchen clock, phone with the seconds toggled on. You need a chair and 2 minutes, and the willingness to try something you will either dismiss as imagination or never quite forget. Sit down, put the clock in front of you, at eye level. Take a slow breath, watch the second hand, Follow it. Not with focus, with attention. Just let it tick for 15 seconds. Absorb its rhythm. Let your body know what now feels like in that cadence. Close your eyes. Now put yourself somewhere else. A beach, a forest, a room you have not seen in 20 years. Somewhere you know by touch. Build it. Slowly. The temperature of the air first, the smell, the sound, the thing your feet are standing on. Do not rush. Stay there for a full minute. Do not decide when to open your eyes. Let the visualization end on its own, when it feels finished, when the details fade, when you surface. When you open your eyes, look immediately at the second hand. What you will most likely see, the hand is stopped, frozen, holding in one position for one full beat longer than it should, sometimes two, before it starts moving again. Most people assume they imagined it. They try again, it happens again. They try a third time and notice they can almost feel the click when the hand re-engages. Bentov's interpretation is the least flattering one for your sense of being in a solid universe. The hand did not actually stop. Objective time kept running. What happened is that your subjective time ran fast. Fast enough that when you came back, your perceptual system took a beat longer than usual to resync with the clock. The observer went somewhere. It was not gone long in external time, but in internal time it lived a full minute on a beach you left 11 years ago. This is your first exit. Most people feel it on the third or fourth attempt. If you do not feel it at all, that is not failure. Your nervous system is not tuned yet, and Bentov has a lot to say about what tuning looks like. We will get there. First, we need to talk about where the observer goes when it leaves. Ask a clairvoyant how they see the past, and they will tell you something that sounds like a translation error. They will say, "I go into it." They do not say they remember it. They do not say they imagine it. They say they move through it, as if the past were a place. Bentov argues they are not being metaphorical. They are describing a coordinate system you have never been taught. Here is the model. In ordinary experience, space and time are separate. You move through space in time. You do not move through time and space. The two are orthogonal. But during the gap between vibrations, during the infinite speed moment, every atom in you enters a quadrillion times a second. The two rotate. Time, at infinite velocity, becomes space-like. What used to be duration becomes direction. What used to be a memory becomes a location you can travel to. In that dimension, everything that has ever been known, by anyone, any creature, any civilization, at any moment in the history of the universe, exists as a single interference pattern. Bentov calls it the universal mind. Imagine a hologram that stores every thought ever thought. That is the structure he is describing, and the observer, in the gap, can touch it. This is not a theory you are asked to believe. It is a mechanism that explains a set of experiences you have already had. Consider what you have already experienced. The answer that arrived before the question was finished. The sudden certainty that someone was about to call. The phone ringing 6 seconds later. The artist describing a download instead of an idea. The word you searched for 5 minutes that surfaced whole the moment you stopped looking. Bentov's answer is mechanical, not mystical. In those moments, the observer briefly slid sideways into the space-like dimension, pulled information from the universal interference pattern, and came back. You experience it as intuition because the body never went anywhere. Only the observer did. Most people spend their entire life doing this by accident. Bentov's claim is that it can be done on purpose. The watch experiment is the first demonstration. The real work is the nervous system, and the nervous system has a price, because when the observer starts leaving regularly, the body notices, and the body has to change to hold up. That change, it turns out, is not subtle. In a case Bentov documented, a 48-year-old artist, a woman with a steady meditation practice of 5 years, started to feel her toes tingle. It was faint at first, only the left foot, a pins and needles quality running along the side of her big toe. She assumed it was a nerve issue. It was not. Over the next few months, the tingling climbed, up the left leg, into the hip, into the base of the spine. She stopped sleeping for stretches of days at a time, not from insomnia, but from a continuous low sound inside her head, like a distant engine. Her toenails on both feet began to darken, as if hit by a hammer. They partially separated from the nail beds. Then the vibrations started. Sweeping waves rising from the base of the spine, traveling up through the torso, settling as a band of pressure above her eyebrows. Her body began moving on its own during meditation. The head rocking, the torso swaying, the tongue pressing involuntarily to the roof of the mouth. A deep sound seemed to originate somewhere inside her chest. She did not make it. It made her. The final stretch was almost violent. Tingling crawled from her throat to her jaw to her nostrils. She felt, in her own words, as if holes were being bored through her head, meeting in the center. The pressure built for days. And then, one afternoon, it broke into brilliant white light, full-body bliss, and uncontrollable laughter. Bentov has a name for what she went through. He calls it the physio-kundalini syndrome, and in his model, some version of it is waiting for you too, if you stay with the practice long enough. His model is neurological, not mystical. It is not a claim about something exotic happening to certain chosen people. It is a claim about the nervous system you are running right now. The nervous system, in his reading, has a dormant circuit running up the spine, through the brain, and back down the front of the body through the major organs. In most humans, almost certainly including you, the circuit never fully activates. In certain conditions, long meditation, psychological trauma, sometimes nothing identifiable, it switches on. A standing wave begins moving along the sensory cortex, sweeping from toes to skull in a specific sequence. Wherever it meets stored stress, it releases it. The release feels like pain, or pressure, or light. Bentov estimates, and this is the sentence that got him in trouble with the psychiatric establishment, that 25 to 30% of the people diagnosed with schizophrenia and locked in institutions in the 1970s were not sick. They were in this process without a framework for it, without anyone around who knew what it was. You are not going to trigger this by trying the watch experiment once. It takes years of sustained attention. But knowing the process exists is part of the skill, because when it does start, mistaking the signals for symptoms is the only way to make it harmful. Once the circuit is running cleanly, the artist reported something Bentov describes as the coming of age of the nervous system. A permanent, subtle sense of energy flowing into the body at the navel, enhanced intuition, emotional stability, knowledge unfolding on its own. This is what the skill is actually building toward. Not the exits, not the secondhand sticking, not the light. Those are the proofs along the way. The destination is a nervous system that runs the observer cleanly, one that does not panic when the gap opens, one that does not lock down when stored stress starts moving, one that can be at 48 years old, briefly filled with brilliant white light and uncontrollable laughter, and also make dinner. The body is not an obstacle to the observer. It is the instrument the observer plays. Kundalini is the tuning, which means the whole thing, the exits, the universal mind, the skill you came here for, starts somewhere very ordinary. It starts with one sit. Here is the 7-day test. The point is not to achieve anything. The point is to start noticing what the observer already does. Day 1 and 2, the watch drill, 2 minutes per session. Sit, watch the second hand for 15 seconds. Close your eyes, visualize a place you know by touch. Open your eyes when the scene fades on its own. 1 repetition per session, 2 sessions per day. Day 3 and 4, extend the visualization, 10 minutes. Same clock, same sit, but build the scene in more detail. Temperature, smell, the weight of your feet on the ground, the sound of whatever would be around you. Let yourself drift. When you come back, look at the clock before you do anything else. Day 5 and 6. Drop the clock, 15 minutes. Sit in silence. Do not visualize. Do not focus. Let the observer slide where it wants. Your only job is to notice the moment it goes, not to stop it, not to grip it, just to register the slip. Most people can feel it once they know what to look for. Day 7. Full session. 20 to 30 minutes. Same posture. No clock, no script. Afterward, write 1 line in a notebook. Where did you go and how long ago did you leave? The log is important. You are not building a skill. You are noticing a thing you have been doing your whole life. Failure modes. You will sit and be bored. Push through. The boredom is the observer waiting for permission. You will fall asleep. That is not failure. The body is often behind on rest and the sleep still counts. A wave of strong, uncued emotion will hit. Grief, euphoria, anger from nowhere. That is the Kundalini model. Stored stress releasing as the current moves. Let it move. Do not decide what to do with it afterward. Bentov tells a parable about a bicycle. You can hand someone a bicycle and explain in perfect detail the principle of inertia that keeps it upright in motion. They will not believe you. They will say it is impossible, that they would fall over immediately. The only way they will ever understand is to get on the thing and ride it. They will fall off a few times. The falling is not a bug. The falling is how the body calibrates. The observer is a bicycle. You can read 10 books about consciousness, mine, Bentov's, anyone's, and feel like you understand what leaving your body means. You do not. You will not until you try. And when you do, the most likely experience is not a blinding white flash or a tunnel of light or a floating sensation over your own head. It is subtler than that. A tiny slip, a moment where you become aware that you are aware. A wristwatch that sticks. The observer was never a skill you did not have. It was a room in your house you never knew was there. You are about to find the door. Go back to the start of this video. The clock in the room with you. The one I told you I would teach you to stop. It is still there. You still have a wristwatch or a stove clock or a phone with the seconds on. You have now heard in order the 5 things I promised. Why your body is Morse code instead of matter, who the observer is, how to catch it leaving, where it goes, and what happens when you start leaving regularly enough that the body has to catch up. You also have Bentov's protocol. 7 days, 20 minutes a session, 1 line in a notebook. No special breathing, no guru, no substance, no belief system required. Just a wristwatch, a chair, and a willingness to be wrong about where you live. If you do it, and the second hand sticks, write it down. If it does not stick the first time, try again on day 3. If it still does not stick, try again on day 7. The body is not tuned yet. That is what the 7 days are for. Here is the question I want to leave you with. Somewhere in your childhood, probably before you were 10, there was a moment where you zoned out for the first time. You were staring at a wall or a ceiling or the inside of a car window, and time did a thing. You came back and the adults had been talking about something else for what felt like hours. Where did you go? Not in memory, not in metaphor. In Bentov's model, in the model you now have, where was the observer for those missing minutes? Write your best guess in the comments. I will read them. Some of them will match each other in ways that should not be possible if we all went nowhere. This is Stalking the Wild Pendulum. The body is a garage. The observer is what parks in it and what drives away at night without you noticing. You have always had one. You can start using it tonight. One sit, one clock. The first exit. Thank you for watching.